Hello and welcome to the Me First Virtual Fitness. We are so happy to have you here, and today we are doing yoga again. And today our yoga will be a flow class, and within our flow we're going to really focus on meaningful movement. So meaningful movement is all about using your breath. It's about being really present in the postures that you hold and the postures that you flow through. So we'll talk through that as we get into the class today. A couple of props you might want for your class. I always have a block handy. They're great for standing and seated postures. If you don't have a block, you can use a soup can, a water bottle, a carton of soup works as well. I also use a strap in my yoga classes, and you can substitute a strap with any kind of scarf. You want it a little bit long so that you can use it for full extension of legs and arms, but keep that handy as well as you move into some of those postures. We're going to come right down into a seated position here. And I'm going to ask you to take a comfortable seated position. And what that means in a comfortable seated position is that you can sit without strain, without work, and without effort. So you may be comfortable in a Siddhasana where you stack your legs and everything is tucked in nice and close. That might be a little bit much for you. And if a looser, comfortable cross leg works for you, that's fine. And sometimes even the bent knees aren't going to be the best for some of us practicing. So we're going to extend those legs out and start our practice in a staff pose. So I'm going to come into Siddhasana to start, and I'm going to come forward and just pull all the fleshy bits behind so that your sits bones anchor right down into the mat. Sitting lifted through the lower back, lifted through the heart, and long through the top of the head, really keeping that spine elongated. Turn your palms towards the ceiling. Rest them on your lap, and then let's just let your fingers curl in relaxation. I'm going to ask you here to close down your eyes. And as you close down your eyes, start connecting with that breath. So our first connection with breath is just an awareness of the inhale and the exhale. And with that awareness, be aware of the breath coming in through the nose and out through the nose. Cool air through the nostrils as it comes in, warmer air as you exhale out. And then with your next breath, be aware of the breath going right over the back of your throat. Gliding down into your lungs. Feel the lungs expand. And as you exhale, retract the ribs to push that air back out again. And with every breath cycle, try to match the inhale with the exhale. And then lengthen the inhale and lengthen the exhale. 2 more breaths here. And flutter those eyes to open. Extending those legs out in front if they're not already extended, coming into staff pose. In staff pose, we want to draw the toes back towards our shins and press down with the knees. The knees won't touch the ground. There'll always be that little gap there, but really press down with the knees and really engage and activate those legs in our staff pose. Let your shoulders float up. Draw the shoulder blades together and then glide the shoulder blades down your back, pressing the palms of your hands down into the mat, really lengthening through the arms. And as you press the palms down and feel that length in the arms, feel the shoulders draw away from the ears. Feel the crown of your head lengthen towards the ceiling. Staff pose. And on your next breath in, inhale your arms all the way up and overhead. Bring the arms right to your ears. And on an exhale, just a little tip forward. So we're going to go through a few breath cycles here, inhaling to lengthen and exhaling to soften forward. The movement forward is so very subtle. You may not even be able to visually see it, but you can feel it in your body. Inhale now, lift your rib cage right out of the pelvis. And as you exhale, just soften forward. Inhale again to lengthen. And And as you exhale this time, be aware of your tailbone shifting towards the back of the room. Your back stays long, your heart stays lifted. One more time, inhale. Exhale, just a little sinking forward. Very nicely done. Inhale one more time here. And when you exhale this time, let's just round out over those legs. Let the hands fall wherever they will. Tuck the chin and feel nice roundness through your spine. Take another breath here. And on your exhale, unfold to come all the way back up to seated position. Pull that left foot in and tuck it by your right knee. Inhale, arms to your ears. And when you exhale this time, fold right out over that leg. Again, those hands just fall wherever they land. Hold here for a breath in. And as you exhale, start to unfold. Lifting that left foot, just plant it on the floor and tuck your right foot in close to your thigh. Lift onto those sits bones. So one more time, that lower back is lifted and that heart is lifted. We're going to reach forward and grab onto the instep. If that's not available to you, this is where you'll use your yoga strap or your scarf to come into this next range of motion. So starting here, we'll lift the leg and pull it right into the chest. Lift through the lower back again. So easy with this movement up to get into a slumped position. So lift through the lower back and lift through the heart, long through the crown of your head. And on an inhale, straighten that leg. On an exhale, lower it back down. Inhale to straighten and exhale to lower. One more time here. And this time we are going to hold that straighten. So remember, if you're using your scarf, hold on wherever you need to the scarf to support that leg in this position. Lift it through the lower back. Take a breath, and as you exhale, can you draw that leg just a little bit closer? Very nicely done. If you're using a scarf, continue to hold on to the scarf with your left hand. If you're not, take that right hand under your leg, your left hand on the inside of your instep, lift it long through the spine, open that leg out to the side. Bring your right hand out in front and sweep that arm towards the back of the room, really lengthening and extending, opening the chest, lifting the heart long through the spine. Inhale, coming back to center. Very nicely done. We're going to lower that foot down. Bring that right foot out, plant it on the floor. Tuck that left foot under. Actually, no, extend that left foot out. Let's do this Janusarsena on the other side. Sitting long and tall, inhale up. Exhale, just fold out over those legs. Let the hands land wherever they will. Hold the fold for one breath in. Exhale and unfold all the way up. Nicely done. Now we'll plant that right foot. We'll tuck the left foot under and we'll reach for the instep, either with our hands or our scarf. Come up, pulling that thigh into your chest. Lift through the lower back, lift through the heart. Inhale to lift the leg. Exhale to lower. Stay long through the spine as you inhale and exhale. And one more time, we're going to inhale to lift and hold right there. Long through the spine. If you're using the scarf, take both ends of the scarf into your right hand. If you're not, take that left hand, hold the leg, right hand to the inside of your instep, long through the spine, and open that leg to the side. That left hand comes out in front, and then just sweep it wide to the side. Take your gaze with the hand right over your shoulder, really lifted through the heart, open through the chest, and then inhale back to center, and lower that foot all the way down. Very nicely done. I'm going to angle myself just a bit on the mat so you can see my smiling face, and we're going to come right into boat pose. So if you have an issue with your tailbone, you're going to lean off the tailbone and rest on the sacrum, that flat bone of your pelvis. But if your tailbone is healthy, you can sit up nice and tall on your tailbone, lift it through the lower back and lift it through the heart. Start by lifting your heels where they're even with your knees and support your legs. A few options for your boat pose. You can stay here throughout our whole, we do I think 3 breaths on this one we'll do today. So you can stay here, or you can point your toes and extend your legs, or you can release your hands to the side, or any variation of those 3 options. Soft through the shoulders and long through the spine, 3 breaths here. Remember, like we did in our opening breaths, the breaths are long and full. The inhale matches the exhale, One more breath. Nicely done. Take your hands slightly behind your hips with the fingers pointed forward. Lean back into your hands and lower your legs down. With toes pointed, inhale to lift those hips all the way up. Take another breath here. Exhale and lower down. Nicely done. Pull right back into boat. Option to be on your tailbone or on your sacrum. And again, your options with where you want to hold this boat pose. Pick the one that works for you. 3 breaths here. Inhale and exhale. Your gaze is just above your toes, or if your knees are bent, maybe lift your gaze to where the wall meets the ceiling. One more breath here. Nicely done. Hands go behind, lean back into your hands, lower down your legs. Inhale to lift those hips. Reverse plank pose. One more breath here. And exhale to come all the way down. One more in our boat series, choosing that position of boat that works best for you. Any variations of the one I showed you. Soft through the shoulders. Your 3 breaths start now. It's okay to feel a little bit trembly in the boat pose, especially our 3rd time in. Give me one more breath here. Nicely done. Hands come behind, lower the legs. Inhale to lift. Exhale to hold. One more breath. And lower all the way down. Very nicely done. We're going to cross over our ankles and roll forward, coming into all fours on the mat, spreading the fingers wide, finding a nice flat spine. So you want to start where your tailbone feels like it's pointed straight towards the back wall, and your gaze is down, which allows that neck to stay in line with your spine. On an inhale, lift your chin, lift your tailbone, and arch through your spine. When you exhale, draw the belly in and round through the spine, tucking the chin. Inhale to lift into cow. Exhaling to cat as you round the spine, tuck the tail and tuck the chin. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. And this time when you exhale, the belly draws in and the spine rounds. Sink your hips right back down into your heels. Inhaling to glide forward till your shoulders are over your hands, then push right up into that cow. Exhale to draw the belly in, round through the spine, sink through the heels. Inhale forward, coming right into your cow. Lift the chin and lift the tail. Exhale, round the spine, sinking back to child's pose. Inhale forward. Exhale to round. Walk your fingers forward and then inhale to come forward again into that cow, turning your toes under. On an exhale, lift your hips into downward facing dog. Come forward onto your knees. Let your hips fall forward. Lock your elbows and open that heart space between your arms. Exhale right back into your child's pose. Inhale to glide. Exhale to lift. Inhale to your knees, lock the elbows, drop the hips, and open the heart space. Exhale to child's pose. Inhale through. Exhale to round. And lift. Inhale, knees to the mat, drop the hips, lock the elbows, open the heart space right between those arms. And exhale back to your child's pose. Coming one more time through this flow and landing in our downward facing dog. Lifting here. Make sure the fingers are still spread wide and allow those fingertips to sink into the mat just a little. Takes a bit of pressure off your wrists. Your head just falls between the arms, allowing the neck to relax. See if you can pull your shoulders away from your ears, finding a little length in your spine. As your tailbone lifts towards the ceiling, allow those heels to sink towards the mat. We don't want them touching, we want them reaching, constantly lengthening down into the mat. Lift your gaze between your hands and walk those feet forward. You're going to bring those feet right up between your hands. Line up your fingers with your toes. And on an inhale, flatten your back and let your gaze just come right out along the floor. Exhaling here into forward fold, allowing the head to fall. Inhale, lift to the fingertips, but stay connected with your mat. Exhale and fold out over those legs. One more time. Inhale to lift. And exhale to fold. On your next inhale, soften your knees and start to unfold. We're going to straighten the legs, and then we're going to sink the tailbone. And then hands will come to your lower back as the elbows press towards the back wall. Push the hips forward, lift the heart, and exhale into your back bend. On an inhale, bring those arms right to your ears. Lace the fingers and point towards the ceiling. Exhale to your left, bring your gaze to the ceiling. Inhale up. Exhale right, bring your gaze to the ceiling. And inhale up. Hands are coming together in prayer. Exhale and surrender over those legs back into that forward fold. Inhale to your fingertips. The gaze just glides along the floor. Exhale to fold. And when you inhale again, soften the knees to unfold. Just let the arms hang. Straighten out the knees now. Hands to the lower back, elbows to the back wall. Exhale the hips forward and the heart to the ceiling. Inhale to lift. Hands laced together, fingers point towards the ceiling. Exhale to your left and bring your gaze to the ceiling. Inhale up. Exhale right, gaze to the ceiling. Inhale up. Hands together in prayer, surrender over those legs coming into your forward fold. Drop the top of your head to the mat. Inhale to your fingertips, glide forward, and exhale down. Soften the knees and inhale as you start to unfold. Straighten the knees, let the tailbone sink to the mat, hands to the lower back, exhale the hips forward and the heart to the ceiling. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to your left, bring your gaze to the ceiling. And inhale up. Exhale to your right, bring your gaze to the ceiling. And inhale up. Hands together in prayer, this time lower down just to your heart center. Let those shoulder blades glide down your back. Let the shoulders sink away from your ears. Coming into our sun salutation, Surya Namaskar. Bending through the knees, come down and up on an inhale. Exhale to a back bend. Inhale up. Exhale and surrender over those legs, coming right into a forward fold. Stepping back with your right foot, drop that knee to the mat and exhale as your hip falls forward. On an inhale, sweep your arms to the ceiling and bring your gaze up. Exhale, hands down, allow that hip to fall forward. Turn the toes under on that right foot. Step back left, bring your legs close together and lower down, knees, chest, and chin with your elbows tucked in tight and your bum lifted. Inhale to come through to a cobra. Exhale, push away from the mat. This downward facing dog comes in with our legs close together and our gaze between our hands. Step forward with your right foot. You can use that hand to wiggle that foot forward, getting it into position. Exhale that hip forward. Inhale to sweep the arms up, lifting the gaze. Exhale, hands to the mat, hip falls forward. Turn the toes under on that left foot, push off the left foot and step those feet together, forward fold. And on an inhale, hands come together in prayer, lift all the way up. Exhale to a back bend. Inhale up. Exhale and fold forward. Stepping back with your left foot, lower that knee to the mat. On an exhale, let that hip sink forward. Inhale to bring your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hands down, the hip falls forward again. Turn the toes under on that back foot. Step the feet together. Squeeze the legs. Activate the inner thigh. Then lower down knees. Tuck your elbows. Touch chest and chin. Inhale through, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog with those legs close together. We're gonna step forward with the left foot this time, using your hand as you need to bring that foot forward. Allow the hip to fall. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to the mat. Turn the toes under, push off the back foot, and step forward. Hands come together in prayer. Inhale up. Exhale to a back bend. Inhale up. Exhale and fold. Inhale, step back with your right foot. Let the hip fall forward, opening that hip flexor. Inhale to sweep the arms overhead and lift your gaze. Exhale, hands come down. Turn the toes under on that back foot. Step the feet together in a plank. Squeeze the knees and ankles. Lower down knees. Tuck elbows. Touch chin and chest. Inhale through. In your cobra, the hips stay on the mat and the heart opens to the short end. Push away from the mat. Downward dog with your legs touching and your gaze between your hands. Step forward with your right foot. Lower down that knee and let the hip fall. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Turn those toes under, push off the back foot to step forward. Hands together in prayer. Inhale overhead. Exhale to back extension. Inhale up. Surrender over those legs. Step back with your left foot. Lower that knee and let the hip fall. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, hands to the mat. Turn the toes under on the back foot. Step back with the right foot. Squeeze the knees together. Find that plank. Straight line, shoulders, hips, and heels. Lower down knees. Tuck elbows. Touch chest and chin. And on your next inhale, come through to a cobra. Hips are anchored. Heart is lifted. Push away from the mat. Downward dog with legs touching and gaze between your hands. Step forward left. Lower that right knee. Let the hip fall open. Inhale up. Exhale down. Turn the toes under on the back foot and step forward. Hands come together in prayer. Inhale to come all the way up. Exhale to a back bend. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to your heart center. And we're going to move right into our tree pose. So in tree, we want to start with our feet well anchored into the mat. So spread the toes wide. Feel all four corners of your feet anchor there in the mat. Draw your belly in. Glide your rib cage down. Feel really engaged through that core. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Come back to your heart center to start your tree pose. We're going to start by sinking into that left foot. Weight goes into the left and you lift on the right. So start with leaning your heel against the inside of your calf. Option here to lift to your foot right up into your calf, or to lift your foot right up into your inner thigh. You're going to choose the one that works for you. If you're choosing to keep your foot on the floor, your heel engaged against your calf, while we're holding the posture, try to lift that toe. Play around with your balance in your tree pose. Your shoulders are soft. They're gliding away from your ears. Your heart is lifted and your hands resting right in that heart space. If it's in your practice, let those hands float up. Release your fingers at the top and open the crown of your tree, staying energized through those arms. Slightly bent at the elbows, but reaching at the fingertips. The energy coming right from your heart center. Your belly draws in and up, your rib cage glides down. Find your drishti, something steady to stare at, to help with your balance and your stability. And then let those hands float back up. Close the fingers and return those hands in prayer to your heart center. We're going going to bring that foot forward and step back. Just taking a peek down to make sure that the toes of both feet are pointed forward, coming into our intense forward fold. So if you have a prop here that you want to bring close by, a block or a soup can or something like that, you might want to use it for this posture. We're going to inhale the arms all the way up to the ears. On an exhale, hinge forward to bring your back parallel to the mat. Hold here for a breath in. And when you exhale again, lower those hands all the way down, either onto a block, onto tented fingers, or flat into the mat. Tucking your chin, the inhale draws your crown down, and the exhale lifts your tailbone up. 2 more breaths here, inhaling to sink through the crown, exhaling to lift through the tailbone. 1 more breath here, keep that chin tucked, and sink. Nicely done. Now taking just a little step forward with your hands, lift off the back foot, balanced on that forward foot, and bring that back leg so it's level with your hip. Preparing for crescent moon. We're going to do the reverse version today. So if it's in your practice, lift that left hand off the floor, reach it right out to the side. And if you like, you can turn your gaze towards that hand and then lift that arm towards the ceiling in crescent. On an inhale, lower the hand and lower your gaze. Soften that knee and step those feet together. Inhale here, sweep the arms wide to come all the way up and return right back to those hands in prayer at your heart center. The weight now is going to sink into that right foot. The left heel will lean and the toes will gently touch onto the mat. Option to lift into your calf or into your inner thigh. Allow that knee to fall open wherever you choose that leg to be. Allow that knee to fall open. Draw the belly in and up, glide the rib cage down, engage through that core to help with the balance. Soften the shoulders away from the ears and find your drishti. Find that thing that will not move that you can stare at to help with your balance and your stability. And then if it's in your practice, let the hands float. Release the fingers. Open the crown of your tree, lengthening and extending through those arms, even though the elbows are soft, energized right from the heart center. Holding on to the drishti, engaging through the core, open through that left knee. Inhale to come up. Hands, fingers close and hands lower, back into your heart. And then we're going to step back with that left foot. Taking a little peek down, make sure that the toes are on both feet, point forward, and then sweep the arms up to your ears. On an exhale, come forward, nice flat back until you're parallel to the mat. Hold here for a breath in. And when you exhale again, come down, hands to the mat, either on your blocks, on tented fingers, or on flat hands. You pick what's going to work best for you. When you find that position that works best for your hands, tuck your chin, inhale the crown of your head towards the mat, and then exhale your tailbone towards the ceiling. Inhale to lengthen with that chin tucked. Exhale to lift. 1 more breath here. Intense forward fold. Take your hands just a step forward. Again, this can be done on the blocks as well. With your hands forward, let that left leg float up until it's even with your hips. And if it's in your practice, let the right arm lift out to the side, level with your shoulder. If you like here, you can turn your gaze towards your hand, and option to lift that hand towards the ceiling in reverse crescent. Lower the gaze, lower the hand, soften the knee, and step those feet together. Sweep the arms wide to inhale all the way up. And as you exhale, just exhale those arms to your side. Let your palms come slightly forward. Spread your toes wide, anchor all 4 corners of your feet into the mat. Your knees are just soft, not a big bend like you're in the saddle, but don't let them lock out, just a softness there in that knee joint. Then point your tailbone towards the floor, leveling off through your pelvis. Your belly draws in and up and your rib cage glides down. Your shoulders sink away from your ears and your arms lay heavily at your side. Lengthen through your crown to feel long through the spine. Then close down your eyes. Mountain pose. 3 breaths here. And in your mountain pose, don't be surprised if you feel a little waver. You may even feel a little unbalanced. That's just your body with closed eyes finding its place in space. Flutter your eyes to open and sweep your arms wide as they come up. Exhale in a swan dive coming forward, letting your fingers brush the mat, then slide up your shins in a halfway lift. Fold forward over those legs, and then on an inhale, step back 1 foot at a time into downward facing dog. Lift up onto your toes, rock forward to a plank, and either from your toes or from your knees, tuck your elbows and lower down to hover off that mat in chaturanga. We're going to inhale through, coming right up into an upward facing dog with the tops of our feet on the mat and our hips falling forward. On an exhale, push away from the floor, turn through the toes and sink back into your downward facing dog. We're going to lift to our toes again and rock forward. Bring your right foot to the middle of the mat and lift your left foot up towards the ceiling. Bending that left knee, step forward between your hands and drop the back foot onto its side. We're going to inhale through, coming all the way up through Warrior 2 and prep for triangle. So in triangle, we want that, actually that should be your whatever foot is forward. Your forward foot towards that short end of the mat. It's hard for me to know what direction you guys are going, but don't worry, I can feel your energy and I know you're working hard. So your toes are pointed towards the short end of the mat on your forward foot. On the back foot, line up the edge, outside edge of your foot with the short end of the mat there. Arms are lifted and level with your shoulders. We're going to lift from the rib cage and hitch forward, lowering down that hand to come just to the inside of your calf. So again, a few options here that you can use props for. So in your triangle, you can bring your hands, if you feel more balanced, right down onto a block or onto the mat. Remember though, the goal here is going to be to open up through the chest. So whether you're using a block with your hand or whether you're leaning the back of your hand against your calf, remember you need a little bit of resistance to stack those shoulders, to open that heart, to lengthen and extend those fingertips. And those fingertips are going to reach right up towards the ceiling. And if the range of motion in your neck allows, you can lift your gaze to the ceiling as well. But if that puts strain on your neck, keep your neck neutral and your gaze forward. 2 more breaths here. Triangle. Coming out of triangle, we want to find a reverse triangle. So option here, soft knee or locked, whichever is going to work best for your practice. Lower that lifted hand down, either onto the floor or onto a block. If you don't have a block, you can also rest it on top of the opposite foot. And then you're going to sweep that arm up towards the ceiling, opening your heart to the opposite end of the room. Again, we lengthen and extend through the fingertips. We work on pulling that shoulder back to stack one over the other. And we open through the heart. 1 more breath here. And then lower that hand all the way down. Either with hands on blocks or tented fingers, tuck your chin and soften over that leg in a fold. And then softening both knees, walk your hands to the center, point your toes towards the corners of the mat. Hands start in a tented position, but you can work towards flattening them to the mat. If that's still not attainable for you, soften your knees to allow yourself to get a little bit lower. Or bring in your prop, your block or your soup can or whatever that's going to give you a little bit of lift in this standing forward fold. I'm going to ask you here to tuck your chin. And once again, as we inhale, we sink the crown towards the mat. And as we exhale, we lift the tailbone towards the ceiling. Inhale to sink. Exhale to lift. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Very nicely done. Now straighten out those arms. Lift to fingertips if you need to. Bring that back nice and flat. Then just softness through the knees as you lift your hands to your hips. With that flat back, come straight up. Keep those knees bent. Sink down into the posture. Inhale the arms up. Palms are forward as you exhale down into goddess arms. Tuck your tailbone under. Sink your hips a little bit lower. One breath in. One breath out. And stand tall. Nicely done. Let's position that back foot now so that it's parallel with the short end of the mat. Point the toes towards the other end. Hips come forward, arms lift to your shoulders. Lift your rib cage away from your pelvis and scooch forward. Exhale as you come down. Remember your options here. The hand can be on the floor, the hand can be on a block or another prop that you have today, or you can lean the back of the hand into the calf, offering resistance as you stack those shoulders. Open that heart. Lengthen through the fingertips, and if it's in your practice today, lift your gaze towards the ceiling. 3 breaths here. Very nicely done. We're going to lower down that lifted hand, softening the knee if that works better for you. That hand comes either to a block, tented fingers, or flat. The knee can stay bent or come back to straight. The opposite arm sweeps up towards the ceiling in our reverse triangle. Remember, you're working on stacking the shoulders, opening the heart, lengthening through the fingertips, and lifting your gaze. One more breath here. Bring that lifted hand down and just do a gentle stretch over that leg. Tucking the chin, softening the neck. And then walk those hands to the center. Point the toes towards opposite corners. This time, see if you can bring those hands back so they're in line with your feet. Instead of being out in front, pull them back. And this time, as you tuck your chin, drop the crown of your head, use resistance against the mat to draw your torso between your legs. So like we did with the stretches that we did coming out of staff pose and folding in that seated fold position, we used a little bit of resistance to get back. We softened through the hips on the exhale, lengthened through the crown on the inhale. One more breath here. And then straighten out those arms. Lift to tented fingers again, or lift up onto your blocks, whatever is available to you. Either with your legs straight or a slight bend in those knees, lift your hands to your hips. Straighten through the spine, and with that nice straight spine, come all the way up. Very nicely done. That back foot's going to take just a couple of steps in. We're going to turn the toes on the front foot to the front of the mat, and then lift up onto the toes on that back foot and push off the back foot to step forward. Inhale and lift. Exhale and swan dive. Reach through the fingers and arch through the spine. On your inhale, let the fingers float up in a halfway lift. Then exhale to fold out over those legs. Inhale as you step back 1 foot at a time into that downward facing dog. And then lift up onto your toes. Rock forward to a plank. Find that straight line, shoulders, hips, and heels, either from your toes or from your knees. Lower down to hover off the mat in chaturanga. Inhale through to an upward dog. Lock out the elbows. Press the tops of your feet into the mat and open that heart space between your arms. We're going to push away from the floor, coming up again into downward facing dog. And then softening both your knees, just take a little walk forward. We're going to walk those feet right up between our hands. And then softening the knees, inhale again to sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale into a chair, sweeping the arms forward and up, sinking down through the hips. Check that the knees stay in a nice straight line at the front. You don't want one knee to jut in front of the other. Stay really strong and secure there. Lengthening and extending, reach through those fingertips, and then soften a little more into those hips. Make sure that you breathe. Remember that our movements are meaningful. We're thinking about how we move and how we hold, and we're using our breath to assist. We're going to roll forward onto the toes and then stand tall, sweeping those arms all the way to the side. Step your feet so your toes are touching and your heels are apart. Inhale and lift. Exhaling here to come back into your chair. Hands come together in prayer. Draw them to your heart center. We're going to twist to bring the elbow to the outside of the knee. Now, just before we turn our gaze, look at those knees. Make sure that they're aligned and one's not jutting in front of the other. Then pressing that elbow into your knee, twist to stack your shoulders and to open your heart. Create a little tension between your palms and find a nice straight line from one elbow to the other. Can you sink your hips a little bit deeper? Can you lift your toes off the mat and sink that weight back into your heels? Nicely done. Inhale back to center. Exhale to come tall. Inhale, arms to your side. Step those feet just about hip width apart, not too wide. Inhale up. Exhale into your chair again. The knees are forward. The hips press back. The arms lengthen and extend. Rock forward to your toes. Can you sink just a little bit deeper? On an exhale, stand tall. Step those feet together. Inhale this time, hands coming up into prayer. Exhale to your heart center as you sink down into your chair. Inhale the arms forward and then draw them back and twist to the opposite knee. Before you turn your gaze, check that those knees are in line. Allow those hips to sink. Press the elbow into the leg and find your twist. Stacking shoulders, one on top of the other. Creating tension between your palms and finding that straight line from one elbow to the other. One more time, press the elbow to the knee. Can you twist a little further? Inhale to center. Exhale to stand tall. Nicely done. Inhale again to lift. Exhale and swan dive forward. Inhale, hands slide up in a halfway lift. Exhale to fold, drop the crown. Step back 1 foot at a time to your downward facing dog and exhale. Lift to your toes, inhale to plank, find that straight line. Pull your shoulders away from your ears. Press back through your heels. Draw your belly in, stay strong in your plank, and then either from your toes or from your knees, lower to hover off the mat in chaturanga. Inhale through. And exhale again to downward facing dog. And in your downward facing dog, let's just hold here for a little pedal. Your fingers are spread wide. Your fingertips are digging just a little bit into that mat. Your head just hangs between your arms. Your neck is soft. Shoulders pull away from your ears.
Tailbone lifts towards the ceiling and alternate heels sink down into the mat. On your next breath in, lift up onto both toes and then sink both heels all the way down. 2 breaths here. I'm going to ask you to rock forward and bring your knees down onto the mat. Let the hips fall forward. Open the heart between the arms and lift your gaze towards the ceiling. Press back into a child's pose. Inhale forward again, locked elbows. Open the heart and drop the hips. Press back to a child's pose. Inhale forward. And one more time. Meaningful movement through our flows. Thinking about the movement, using the breath to assist. Come forward again, and this time as you drop your hips forward, lift your feet from the mat, cross your ankles, and push back to a seated position. We want to extend those feet straight out in front, coming back into our staff pose, where we started the class today. Sitting long and tall through the crown of your head. Take those hands just beside your hips, pressing the heels of your hands down towards the mat. Draw your toes back towards your shins. Lift long through the crown. Lift through the lower back so that you roll right up onto those sits bones. And soften through the shoulders. Nicely done. Releasing your staff pose, bring your left foot and cross it over the right. So what we're looking for here is to work towards stacking one knee on top of the other. An option here to draw that bottom leg back in cow face pose, Gomukhasana. If you get into this position and you find you're here, both sits bones aren't anchored into the mat, simply extend that leg again and do this posture with one leg straight and one leg bent. In time, as the range of motion in your hips loosens off, you'll be able to do the full version. Not necessary to bend both knees to get the benefits of this posture. So once again, I'm asking you to lift through the lower back and lift through the heart. Reach long through the crown of your head. Inhale those arms overhead. Your right hand is going to drop down your back and your left hand will go to the elbow. Gently drawing the elbow in as your hand reaches down the middle of your back. Remembering to breathe. Inhaling and exhaling. Using the breath to assist with the posture. When you're ready to inhale again, bring both those hands up together in prayer. Exhale those hands to your heart center and then release the hands down onto the mat and fold over top of those bent knees. Tucking your chin, extending the arms in front and softening through the elbows. Long, full, deep breaths. Feeling the ribs at your back expanding. There's not a lot of room through the chest because we're tucked in so closely to the thighs. So think about the ribs at your back expanding as you fill those lungs. And when you exhale, retract those ribs and push all of that air back out again. 2 more breaths here. 1 more breath here. And then let the hands slide as you unfold. We're going to straighten out the bottom leg and place that left foot flat on the floor. Hold that knee in the midline of your body and wrap that right arm around. Your left hand goes behind your back. Using that arm as a second spine, push into the floor to lift through the back, and on an exhale, find that twist, drawing the shoulder towards the knee. Inhale again, lengthening through the spine, and exhaling to turn towards the back corner of the room that you're in. One more inhale. Exhale and look over your shoulder. And release. You're going to come around, just a quick little twist in the other direction. And then back to center. Extend that leg out in front. Draw that right knee in and cross it over the left. Option to bend that bottom leg or to keep your legs straight, wherever you need to be to stay anchored through those sits bones. Sitting long and lifted through the lower back, through the heart, and through the crown. Inhale those arms overhead. Exhale to lower that left hand, take your opposite hand to the elbow. That left hand is reaching down your back as the right hand draws the elbow across. Keep your gaze lifted. Try not to round out. If you drop your head, you tend to round through the upper back. So think about the heart lifted. Keep your gaze just above your normal sight line. Keep the energy lifted. Connect with the breath. Allowing the breath to slow and the heart to settle after all that flowing that we did. And when you inhale again, bring both those hands together overhead in prayer and lower down to your heart center. Release from the heart to bring those hands to the mat and fold over top of those bent knees. See if you can slide the hands forward just a little and then relax those elbows down onto the mat. On an inhale, we lengthen. And on an exhale, soften through the hips and release into that thigh. Inhale, thinking about the ribs at your back filling. And then exhaling to retract those ribs and push the air back out. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to soften. One more breath here. Inhale to unfold. We're going to extend that lower leg out. And we're going to lift that right foot so it's flat on the floor. Hold that knee down the midline of your body. Wrap that opposite arm around. Your right hand goes behind your back. Use it as a second spine. And as you inhale, push into the floor and lengthen that spine. And when you exhale, draw that shoulder towards your knee. Keep the knee where it is. Pull the shoulder over. Inhale, lengthen through the top of your head. Exhale, and just take a peek through the back corner of the room you're in. Inhale one more time to lengthen through the spine. And if it's in your practice, exhale and look right over that shoulder. Hold here for one more breath. And as you exhale, come all the way around. Just take a quick little peek over the opposite shoulder. And then come back to center. Very nicely done. We're going to finish our practice today down in a Shavasana. So let's move slowly into our Shavasana. It'll only be brief. I'm not going to hold you here for very long, but really reconnecting with breath and mat before I send you on your way. So sitting long and tall through the lower back, lifted through the heart, reach those arms out in front and take a breath. When you exhale, draw the belly in and curl the tailbone under. Hold right there for a breath in. When you exhale again, the belly draws in, the tailbone curls under. Go just to the sacrum, that flat bone of the pelvis. Feel really balanced and anchored here. Take your breath. When you exhale again, the belly draws in. You're going to roll just to the first vertebrae. This is the hard one. Stay here for one breath. Exhale and unfold one vertebrae at a time. As your head rests down, bring those arms up and overhead. And then sweep them all the way around to the side, turning the palms towards the ceiling and curling the fingers in relaxation. Open your feet wide to the outside edges of your mat and then just let them flop to the side. Finding that breath, that relaxing, comforting, natural inhale and exhale. Don't focus on the length. About how deep or full it is. Make that breath what you need it to be in your recovery. Soften brow, the cheekbones, and the jaw. Release tension from the throat and the neck. Let the shoulders fall open in relaxation and the arms sink heavily into the mat. Just breathe. Allow the vertebrae of your spine to soften into the tissue that surrounds it. The hips to fall open in relaxation and the legs to sink heavily into the mat. Just breathe. Feel the floor come up to support you. And your body soften into the mat. Releasing the joints. Softening the muscles. Calming the breath. Slowing the heart. Slide your feet together, pointing toes towards the ceiling. Then slide those feet right up onto the mat so that they're flat on the mat. Lift one arm overhead so it comes right alongside your ear, and then roll to the side, resting your head on your arm. Place the opposite hand right in front of your face. Take a breath here. And as you exhale, push away from the floor to come all the way up. Finding that comfortable seated position again. So whether that was with crossed legs in Siddhasana, whether it was a loose, comfortable crossed leg, or if it was staff pose where your knees were straight out, wherever you are in your comfortable seated position, sitting long and tall through the spine, lifted through the heart, long through the crown. Inhale those arms overhead. Hands come together in prayer, a little resistance between the palms as you lower them right down into your heart center. The divine energy in me bows to and acknowledges the divine energy in each and every one of you. Namaste.